What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes? Welcome back to another episode of your potentially favorite Nigerian podcast. Bear with me, your host, General Prime. I hope everybody's chilling as usual, getting ready for the inevitable at this point, which happens to be World War III. And I don't even know why I keep calling it the inevitable. I mean, it's so simple. It's almost trivial how possible the solution to avoid World War III is. Like, it's almost a no-brainer that, we can just not go too far. Like, there's this tweet I saw from the Iranian page where the tweet talked about how if they keep messing with Iran, like that the whole world is going to go back to a point in time where everybody would be riding bicycles. And I was like, are these people even, like, do they even understand what it means? I keep saying this over and over and over. Like, I keep trying to, like, I keep ringing this bell over and over. Like, do these people even actually understand what it means to what nuclear war means, what nuclear winter feels like? I know for the majority of people in the world have not experienced what it's like to be in nuclear winter. And it seems like because we don't know what that feels like, we are not taking it as seriously as we are supposed to. And it's just weird. Like, why will you, that is something, that is a poor and sad thing to boast about, that if the whole world keeps like messing with you, that you no longer care about mutually assured destruction, that everybody's going to go back to a point in time where bicycles will be the primary mode of transportation. Like, do you even understand what that feels like? Do you even understand what that means? There's this podcast I was listening to one time, the Matter Made podcast, where he talked about how during the Russian invasion of Poland, where things got so brutal for the Polish people and the Jews that it got to a point where obviously people started eating other people. Carnivorism, is that even what it's called? Carnivorism was like the order of the day. And he talked about where he got to a point where the good died first, and then not even the good, the kind died first, because they took people who were hungry, people who didn't have any other means, any other thing to eat. Like, they took them in, and then when food ran out and there were no more animals to hunt and kill, and all pets had been eaten by that point in time, and rodents like rats and cockroaches and bats and lizards and everything was depleted, when there was nothing else to eat, when bread no longer existed virtually, when barks of tree were entirely carved out, like people were eating the barks of trees. God, when barks of trees were carved out entirely, people who were too moral to eat the dead, those were the ones that died first. And then the kind later also followed suit, because obviously, like, imagine, like, do you know, has anybody ever come to terms with the reality of what it must feel like to eat another human being? I know we always, like, we don't see anything wrong, or we don't see anything absurd, or we don't even think twice about killing animals and eating them, because obviously that's what we've been doing for millions of years now. But it has come to a point where animals have become, essentially less than slaves. They're just, have you ever wondered, like, what it must feel like? Let's say you're eating like a piece of meat now, or chicken or something like that. Like, have you ever wondered what the life of that animal must have felt like. Before the advent, or should I say, in the early advent of agriculture and animal husbandry, I like to imagine that things were a bit fairer for animals back then. There was this mutual relationship between man and beast, where beasts helped man with farm work and stuff like that, and then um, in turn, animals provided meat, milk, warmth with their like fur and stuff like that. But in reality, the truth of the matter is that it has never ever been like that. Man has always been inhumane to animals, like so inhumane to animals that there has never been a time where man like respected animals enough to respected the how do I even put it self respected the gift that animals are to humanity. There's never been a time. Animals have always been lesser beings and will continue to be lesser beings, except for the wise ones like dogs. Dogs have become essential parts of human life, whereby they evolved their own tactic for survival was evolution by friendship. And so dogs have become essential part of human life. I mean, there used to be wolves back then. There is no such thing as a dog. Every dog that you see today is a descendant of a wolf. So dogs are not natural. Dogs are carefully curated artificial beings by man. So back to what I was saying, like when all of these options were depleted, and the kind died and the good died because they were unable to stomach the idea, no pun intended, of eating another human being. People obviously ate other human beings when Russia invaded Poland, and when what's his name, Stalin starved like 10 million, more than 10 million people, starved them. There was nothing to eat, and that was not even anything close to nuclear warfare. That was just Stalin being a crazy fuck. But then now everybody is now like, the situation that we are currently in now is this contention between our current state and the possibility of nuclear warfare. And it's like people don't understand the consequence of nuclear warfare. And I fail to comprehend that fact. I fail to understand how world leaders can be so nonchalant about the potential of nuclear war, the destruction of life as we currently understand and know it. It beats me. Like, it drives me crazy that they keep encroaching and they keep like tempting themselves. Some don't even care. For example, now look at what's going on in America, in North Carolina, North Carolina. Is it Carol? I don't even know. Like the new the present hurricane now that has affected Americans in America. Look at how nonchalant the American government is going about that situation, instead of them to help their own people. Like, I don't even understand. As in, I always gamify things. Do you understand? I always gamify situations, and one thing I keep talking about over and over and over is how we are supposed to gamify our countries, like world governments. I see world governments as like, playing the Sims. Like, if you're playing the Sims, like if you're playing a video game, like an open world sandbox, right? You would want to have the best stuff. You'd want to like upgrade your, let me say, you'd want to upgrade your camp, or you want to upgrade your stuff to have the best, to have the best in the game, obviously, right? And isn't that what life is supposed to be? Like you now, you're running a government, you're running a country, you're the president of a country, you're in charge of a country. Like, isn't the idea of being in charge of a country to make the best out of the country, to make your country the best that it can possibly be, to make life easiest for the citizens of your country? Like, how is it that the people that are currently suffering this hurricane Helene, how is it that there is no money for them, there is no aid, there is no help coming, there's no QRF, there's no Calvary, like there's nothing, I trying to tell them that there's nothing that the government can do except $750 for each person. But then there's enough money to send to places like Ukraine, there's enough money to send to places like Israel. As in, what is the point? Do you understand? What is the point of looking outwards at other places and trying to like garner? I don't know if their idea of this whole thing is to like, I don't know, garner favor or what is it called? Virtue signals. Like, as in, help your people. Your people are there are people that their entire lives have been washed away by the flood, by the hurricane. There are people that their lives, in fact, people that have died. But then you're not really focused on them. Isn't the idea of you being in charge that you're going to help your own people? How is that so difficult? How is that so inane? And how is that so, like, why is that so difficult for you to grasp and do? It makes no sense. And this recent tweet that Kamala Harris tweeted, if Americans, not even Americans, let's say the Democrats, the current people that claim to be Democrats, if they are wise enough, they will finally understand that Kamala Harris is a puppet that don't even give a fuck about them. They wake up and smell the bullshit and understand that, oh, if they actually put this person in power, from the current state of things now happening in North Carolina, and how the Biden administration is currently going. In fact, Joe Biden himself, nobody knows where he is. Nobody knows where he is. He's no longer in the story. If Americans don't wake up, and they finally somehow manage to make Kamala Harris the president next month, America is going to be what Nigeria currently is. And that is actually what I want to talk about today. Like, America is going to be in the situation that Nigeria currently is. We just celebrated I'm not even going to call it a celebration, our independence. I'm not even going to also call it an Independence Day. It's just a day. 1st of October is just a day that we pick to remember that we are in a country called Nigeria. And I can remember vividly when there are two points I want to make. One is about the deterioration of the celebration of the Nigerian Independence Day, and also the deterioration of the celebration of Christmas. I'll start with the Christmas one. I can remember vividly when people stopped, like when the celebration and the excitement for Christmas started dwindling. I can remember back then, like let me say, when we are still existing in the real world. Because me personally, I like to think, in fact, with each passing day, it's becoming glaringly obvious that I died in that accident. I've talked about this accident that I was in ad nauseum, and with each passing day, it's becoming glaringly obvious that I probably must have died in that accident. And then there are two possibilities that happened. Either I am now in hell, or there was a second possibility that I survived, and then I was like transported to a different to an alternate universe. Do you understand? So I'm trying my best to not say "do you understand" as much as I did in my previous episode. Like, my previous episode was so bad, like it was so boring and so bad. I was just blabbing and I was so incoherent. So I'm trying my best to, to use my words carefully this time around. So anyways, I can remember back then when I was still living like in the real world. Christmas used to be fun. People used to be excited for Christmas. People used to get ready for Christmas. There used to be Christmas songs. There used to be Christmas. People used to be filled with this Christmas spirit. It was so anticipating. You understand? People were so filled with joy whenever the idea of Christmas was approaching. And when it eventually came, everybody was excited. Even if you're not like religious, even if you're not like a Christian or anything, like the idea, even Muslims, were excited for Christmas, and then they joined in the celebration of it. But then it got to a point where I don't know if life started becoming too difficult for people to handle, that people started they were no longer giving as much reverence or as much attention to Christmas as they used to do before. And so right now, like even last year, as in I didn't hear any like Christmas song last year. The most people can do this time around is just like putting petty or like very reluctantly designed Christmas fucking presentations, or it's not presentations, Christmas I don't know, Christmas presentations. Let's just call it that one. Things that there was no thoughts put into them. You see like very poorly designed Christmas trees and stuff like nobody really gives that much fuck about Christmas anymore. And it's the same thing now that we have with celebrating Nigeria's independence. Like I can remember back then, it used to be a rave. It used to be something that people looked forward to. It used to be something that people were excited for. To celebrate your country, to celebrate being a Nigerian. People used to like go above and beyond when they wanted to. When Nigeria's independence was approaching. But now, literally nobody, except for people that are, should I say, naive or like obnoxiously and naively optimistic. These are the kind of people that somehow managed to like celebrate the Nigeria's independence. Like people who don't know, like people who are not yet conscious enough of what the state of Nigeria is, and people who still have a semblance of faith in Nigeria. These are the people that managed to celebrate Nigeria's independence. But the truth of the matter is that there is nothing to celebrate about Nigeria. Absolutely nothing, virtually nothing in Nigeria that is worth celebrating. What are we going to celebrate? Is it the state of the economy? Is it the state of the people the people of Nigeria, the government? There is absolutely nothing to celebrate in Nigeria. Our current president has, for some strange reason, gone for 2-week vacation in the UK. And when these people do this, and I've said this over and over, I've said this before actually, it also still ties back to the gamification of countries. In an ideal Nigeria, Nigeria is so blessed. Nigeria is so, blessed. I don't know what other word I can use to like describe what I'm about to say. Nigeria is so blessed with potential and human resources and mineral resources and geographical resources, and it's just like uniquely placed in Africa, where there is little to no geographical inconsistencies or natural disasters. Like the hurricanes don't happen in Nigeria. Fucking earthquakes don't happen in Nigeria. Our the climate in Nigeria is subtle, and when it's cold, it's not brutally cold, and when it's hot, it's not brutally hot, for um the except for the problem of climate change now. Like recently in Nigeria, when it's hot now, it's not yet as hot as other places, but because Nigerians are not yet used to how hellishly hot most places are, and also coupled with the problem of climate change these days, and plus the whole problem of the discomfort in Nigeria, people now find when it's hot in Nigeria, it now seems to be more hot than it usually is. But generally, Nigeria is a place that is just like, it's just perfect. It's perfect. So in an ideal Nigeria, it would be the best place for vacations. I swear to God, like Nigeria is just perfect. It would be the best place for anywhere you want to vacate to. So tell me why our president would prefer to go to somewhere like the UK. Like, where in the UK? Like the UK, the weather has always been terrible. It has always been a terrible place to vacate to. Like, who goes for vacation to the UK? If you want to go for vacation, go to Paris, go to Italy, go to the Bahamas, go to places that are serene and quiet and just, opulent and beautiful and natural. What are you going to the UK to do? Is it to meddle with the influx of immigrants? Is it to fight the rain? Where in the UK do you think is a good place to chill? What are you going to the UK to do? It's not, as in, come to think of it, I don't even believe that he's going to the UK for vacation, for a 2-week vacation. In fact, it is more plausible that he has gone there for, medical reasons than for a vacation. Because there was this video one time of him coming out from one of these like opulent hospitals somewhere in the UK. And then he was just like shoveled into his car and then taken away. So it's more plausible to believe that he went there for another medical emergency than for a vacation. Because and again, to go back to the gamification of countries, how is it that our country, Nigeria, does not have a national or even a presidential hospital? How a presidential medical bay that all your medical needs as the president, as the head of state, would be taken care of? Like, are these people not ashamed of themselves that they have to go to another man's land for vacation? Like, do they not have the ability to feel shame? You coming to my country, you understand? You coming to my lobby to chill. You coming to my house all the time to collect AC. You have the money, you have the money. Not like you don't have the money. You have the money, you have the time, you have the resources, you have the manpower, you have everything. You have everything. You have everything basically you need to make your life as even better than mine. You have all the XP, like, to gamify it. You have all the XP to make your lobby better than mine. But you're always coming to my house to collect AC, to collect food, to collect resources, to watch Netflix. Like, you want to take a shit. Won't you be like, at a point in time, won't you be ashamed of yourself? Like, for example, as in there's this mentality in Africa, in Nigeria, where people who come to your house all the time, your parents would start warning you about them. Your parents will start, even if they don't say it to your face, within themselves, they will start talking about how the parents of these kids that come to your house all the time are not good parents because they don't take care of their own kids. They're always making them come to your house to like eat and stuff like that. I know Nigerians will understand what I'm trying to say. That's that kind of, we have that kind of mentality. So why does that mentality not extend to the heads of state in Nigeria, the government? Why is it only us that are capable of thinking that way? Why is it only the common man in Nigeria that is capable of thinking that way, that has that guilt and shame ingrained in them? As in, like, does nobody think, like, do you people not think that far? Now Nigeria is 64 years old. There are countries that are younger than Nigeria that are doing better than Nigeria. Countries that started way before, that started way after Nigeria, that are currently doing worlds better than Nigeria. But yet at 64 years, Nigerians were lining up to collect bread. As in, they have successfully weaponized poverty. The Nigerian government and the people that are controlling the Nigerian government have successfully weaponized poverty to the point where Nigerians are so docile and so defeated that they have no problem lining up to collect bread. And you now imagine that you're somebody that is so patriotic. You believe in the lifeline and the blood and the idea of Nigeria to the point where you decided to serve your fatherland by joining the military, and then you went through training and you scaled all the obstacles, you overcame everything, and then you finally became a Nigerian soldier, only for you to be deployed to guard bread that the fucking Egyptians used to eat, as in bread that Egyptians used to make, bread that has. Do you know that we tend to think that agriculture is what domesticated human beings, and then from the domestication of from the domestication of animals and most plants, civilization emerged from that. But I was reading this book Sapiens, and actually it talks about how man did not domesticate animals and plants. Actually, plants domesticated man. Do you understand? In fact, the root word of domestication, dom meaning home or house. Do you understand? So because of the fact that man evolved, or should I say man was no longer a hunter-gatherer, the idea of like gathering food all the time was kind of redundant, because now man figured out that, oh, you can just like plant stuff where you are, and when that stuff grows, you can just pick it up and harvest it and then utilize it. So in the book, it talks about how wheat domesticated man, because wheat is like it's very easy to grow. It grows fast and it grows rapidly, and there is a lot of it, and it's so useful to man. You can because man was able to turn wheat not only into dough to make bread, but also to make beer. This is why I made mention of how the Egyptians used to make bread in the past, how it was very easy for them to make bread. And so bread has been a staple food of man for thousands of years. And in 2024, at 64 years, Nigerians are lining up, being guarded by soldiers, like to beg for bread. Ordinary bread, bro. This is how defeated we Nigerians are. I always talk about 1984. I always talk about the book 1984. It's it's my all-time favorite book, because there is so much that can be learned from that book. There is so much that you can talk about that book to the end of time. The moral lessons from that book, you won't cover the entire moral lessons from that book. And in the book, they make mention of people called the pros. I've talked about them before. Pros happen to be the common man in the book, like people who don't matter. You understand? Like the everyday people who are not in the party, who Big Brother don't deem important enough to care about. And in the pros, they are so docile, because they're so docile that Big Brother knows that he can control them without even like thinking too much about it, because he knows how to control them. He knows that he can control them with things that are insignificant. He can distract them with things that are so insignificant that they don't even know that they're being distracted. Things like gambling. Things like, for example, now let's imagine that 1984 is actually 2024. Things like gambling, social media, things like beef between Davido and Wizkid that I don't even know the point. I don't even know what value that holds. Like, Nigerians are so distracted that they're so comfortable with where they are that any little that they'll focus, they'll give attention to any little distraction that comes their way. That is the current state of Nigerians right now. And so Nigerians, in their state of being distracted, whatever little they are giving, like bread, they appreciate it wholeheartedly. And it's in the book, he made mention of how he wished the main character in the book, Winston Smith, makes mention of how he wishes that the pros would be so enthusiastic about when they are gambling. Like, they tend to know everything about, they tend to suddenly become high level mathematicians when they are gambling. They tend to know the scores of every fucking sport. They tend to know who is playing. They tend to know who is. They tend to know exactly what to do when it comes to gambling. Like, they are so loud about it. And so he wishes that they can be that enthusiastic about toppling Big Brother, about defeating Big Brother. He wishes that the way they are when they are gambling, when they are being so prolish, to put it that way, he wishes that they can be that enthusiastic about about toppling Big Brother. And that's the same thing. That's the same way I feel about Nigerians. Like, I always look at Nigerians suffering, and I'm always like, how is it that these people can be so comfortable with this situation that they are in? How is that these people can keep taking more and more? How is it that these people not only are capable of like enduring the bullshit, but ravel and continue to like endure getting fucked? Like, why is it that they're so comfortable why is it that Nigerians are so comfortable with suffering as long as they get the barest minimum? How possible is that? As in, how it's fascinating. This kind of culture, in fact, because it has become a culture, this culture of endurance, this culture of suffering and smiling needs to be studied. It deserves a psychological study in universities, in prominent universities, because it makes no sense. It makes no sense that Nigerians can continue to suffer day by day. Nigerians don't understand that the power belongs to the people. I mean, look how in River State right now, look at the election that is happening, where somebody who claims to be like wicked thinks that he's God, basically. Wicked thinks that he's God. And so he thinks that he can like affect the election that is currently happening in Port Harcourt, even though he's in Abuja. Even though he's no longer the governor of River State. He thinks that he can affect it. He thinks that he can influence it. But thankfully, there are people who are beginning to understand that the power belongs to the people. There are certain people who are beginning to understand that power is supposed to belong to the people. And if the people are actively if the people are actively in control of the power that originally and rightfully belongs to them, they can use it to their own advantage and effect change, the kind of change that they want. And thankfully, it's already happening in Nigeria, where people are, this is something that we would have done in this previous election, the presidential election that just passed. It's just that we didn't know that we had the ability to, after people have voted, we didn't know that everybody can come together and then follow the vote to where it will be officially counted and acknowledged as the rightful amount of votes that have been casted. We didn't know that, but it's what is happening right now in Port Harcourt, where people are actually following the votes. People are following they've already casted their ballots, right? And now they are following the votes to where to be counted and officially acknowledged. Like, that is actually what is going on right now, and I am not only thankful for that, I am happy for that. You understand? Because Nigerians are beginning to understand that the power is in their hands, and I feel like there's another point I want to make. Democracy, yes, is like the best system of government that we currently have, but even though Nigeria claims to be a democratic state, democracy does not work in Nigeria because the common man does not have any say. Even though the power resides with imagine having that much power, but you don't know that you have that amount of power. You understand? That is how blinded the average Nigerian man is. That is how blinded the common man is. And because of how blinded we are to that fact, Nigerians tend to take a lot of bullshit. But democracy, as it's not working supposed to in Nigeria, I feel like there is a new kind of system of governance that is kind of like emanating and coming up, and that is governance through true activism with the power of social media. And we already seen, like I talked about Very Dark Man in my previous episode, even though I wasn't as precise and as coherent as I initially wanted to. I was just rambling in my previous, like, that episode was just, nobody should listen to it. That was just bad. But we can see the light of Very Dark Man, who is genuinely interested in the progress of Nigeria, and he's kind of shaping a new kind of governance in Nigeria, which is governance through true activism. Like, there are a lot of people who claim to be activists, but they are just in it for their own, selfish interest and ulterior motives. They don't really care. They just want to make names for themselves. But this guy is somebody who I think, for now at least, because there is this saying, you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. So, but for now, I am on his side. He seems to be on the right side of history, and he seems to be the actual embodiment of what it means to be an activist, of what it means to be a freedom fighter, a non-violent freedom fighter, of what it means to be an actual superhero without the what do they call it? Without the fictional superpowers. You understand? So this is somebody now that is trying to use his voice through the power of social media, because social media now, for all its negative aspects, there is always a positive side to it, and the positive side is the power that it has in putting people in check. Do you understand? Imagine what is this fool's name, Adeboye, who thinks that because he's like the Jagaban of the religious industry in Nigeria. He thinks that he's the Jagaban of the religious industry in Nigeria, and he thinks that he can say anything. And because he thinks that, in Spider-Man, we all know the saying, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And this is somebody who has a lot of influence in Nigeria. This is somebody who has a lot of power. This is somebody who has the ability to effect change positively. But for a very long time, in fact, for as long as he has been in my consciousness, this man has been a fucking coward. There's nobody. See, bro, there are no group of people I hate more than pastors. There are no group of people in this world, even more than terrorists, because terrorists, at least they make their intentions known. Do you understand? When they want to incite violence, when they want to be brutal, they go about it head on. and then there's this shock value that comes with it, and everybody knows that, oh, what these people have done are evil, and everybody agrees that it's evil. But when you're so conniving, and when you're so, when you're such a snake, that people don't know where to stand when they want to face you. That's the one I hate the most. The churches in Nigeria, Nigeria is this religious state where there are no good deeds. There are virtually no good deeds. Like, I've said this before. So many things that I'm saying in this episode I've said before, but I just want to be plain this time around. I just want to be, apparent this time around. I just want to be clear. All Nigerian pastors, all from the beginning to the end, even the ones now that are trying to like save face by exposing quote unquote lies that pastors tell. All of them are fake. All of them are fake. There are no there. As long, it's like saying a snake, snake oil salesman. Like it's like saying that there are real snake oil salesmen. All of them are fake, right? It's like saying Santa Claus is real. Like, we all know that Santa Claus is fake. It's just an idea that have been fed to children. And that is the same way that all fucking Nigerian pastors, all of them are fake. Like, in the whole world, right? All religious figures in the whole world, not even only in Christianity, like Islam, like all of them are fake. But especially in Nigeria, all of them are fake. I'll say it till the day I die. They are so fake and so cowardly that they don't have any spine. They don't have the nerve to stand for justice. They don't have the nerve to stand for what truth actually is. When people are debating the idea of if God exists or not, you have to first of all look back at the Bible and look at the character of this entity people call God. Even both in the Old Testament and the New Testament, like how does God act? Do you understand? How does God act? For you to know that God does not exist, for you to know that the God of the Bible does not exist, look at the way the God of the Bible acts in the Bible, both in the Old and the New Testament, and then compare it to the way the God of the Bible acts in present time. And then you see that there's a discrepancy, that there is like, it is not aligned. It does not match. Because the God of the Bible will fuck you up in more ways than one. Do you understand? He does not care. Even though the Israelites are his children, but he used to fuck them up. If they go out of line, if they slightly go out of line, nigga used to fuck them up every single time. He's not benevolent. The God of the Bible is not a good God. He's not a good God. You understand? He's somebody that demands worship. He's an entity that demands worship. He's an entity that demands respect. He's an entity that he's so narcissistic and he's so self-entitled and self-indulgent that if you love him, he's so abusive that if he hints that you're beginning to look other ways, regardless of how special he has convinced you that you are to him, nigga, he'll fuck you up. Is it Adam? Is it Noah? Is it Moses? Is it Solomon? Is it Lot? Is it Abraham? Like, who did God not fuck up? Who did God not fuck up? Regardless of how special the person thinks they were to God, who did he not fuck up? Even his own son, he had to, like, who did God not fuck up in the Bible? That is to show you the character. Like, if they say if it quacks like a dog, moves like a dog, it's probably a dog. Like, the way you know somebody's character is what the way you know who somebody is what they do over and over and over and over again. You understand? But we don't see that today. That is why Nigerian pastors have this leverage. They have this freedom to do whatever they want to do, because they know that there are no consequences both in this life and the next. They know that for sure. And they know that most Nigerians don't read. Nigerians do not read. I mean, why would anybody want to read when they don't even have food in their stomach? I cannot blame them. I cannot blame the average Nigerian for not being able to be, they don't read. Nigerians don't read. And I cannot put any iota of blame on them. There's nothing to blame about the average Nigerian's inability to open a book. Most Nigerians, once they leave university, will never open a book ever again for the rest of their life until they die. Whose fault is that supposed to be? Whose fault really is that supposed to be? So these pastors know that with all these flaws that Nigerians have, they can use it to their own advantage and then manipulate Nigerians from beginning to end, from head to toe, and Nigerians will not be able to do anything about it. They will swallow every lie being told to them, hook, line, and sinker. They will not question anything. They will not doubt. They will not fucking scorn. They will not raise their eyebrow to whatever it is that their pastors tell them. I've seen pastors burn Nigerians over and over again. Many families in Nigeria can attest to that fact. Even my family have been affected by fake pastors. You understand? That many families have been affected by the disingenuousness of Nigerian religious leaders. But yet, we still don't seem to learn. We still keep putting our hand in that fire and, enjoying the burn. So whatever Nigerian pastors tell Nigerians, they always believe it. If they tell them that you have to bring your tithes, Nigerians will always believe that you have to bring tithes. Nigerians don't see the truth of religion in Nigeria is that Nigerians don't actually love God for the sake of loving God. Do you understand? Because if they did, I've said this ad nauseum, if Nigerians actually were truly and genuinely in love with the creator of this universe, the expression of the love of the creator of this universe won't only be in one way, that is going to church every Sunday or going to church every other day. Actually, there will be the expression of love will take many forms. Because one example I want to give is look at other countries. Do you understand? There is this affinity for beauty in so many countries. There is this affinity for beautiful creativity in so many in a lot of countries. If you go to Rome, I've never been to Rome, but look at the cathedrals in Rome. Look at the artwork. Look at the level of details in creativity that these people put into their work. So many places in the world, even places that are not Christian. Places that worship other gods, for example now the Aztecs in South America, the Indians, the Russians, the Aboriginals of the Australians, the way they tend to present their gods is different from the way we Africans do ours. Except for the Egyptians and the Ethiopians. In Nigeria, we don't have any affinity for art. There is no, except for the natural beauty that we have in Nigeria and most places in Africa. There is no, nobody tends to worship God with art. Most Nigerian gospel songs are boring. Oh God, I've said most Nigerian gospel songs, they don't do it for the love, because they have love for their God. They do it to either make a name for themselves or to make money. Many Nigerians don't worship God because they love God. They worship God because of what they can gain out of worshiping God. That's why pastors use that as an advantage to scam to scam them like mad. Pastor will tell you, bring everything you have and God will bless you. And the Nigerian, because of how greedy they are and because of how lustful they are for wealth, for material things, they will take what they have and then give it to the pastor, hoping that somehow, I cannot, like, they are so deluded with greed. Nigerians are so naturally and biologically deluded with greed that they believe that killing somebody and harvesting their organs and giving it to some native doctor will literally bring them money. Nigerians are so biologically intertwined with greed that they will give their hard-earned money to pastors, hoping that it will be doubled. It's like betting. It's like gambling. Religion is just another facet of gambling in Nigeria, and many people don't even know it. That's why a lot of, like, the house always wins. Imagine that Nigerian pastors are the gambling house, so they always win and Nigerians will always lose. That is just the state of what Nigeria is. It's sad. It's fearfully sad that this is what Nigeria is. And these evil fucking pastors, like, for example, now this Adeboye, that has come out now to say that somebody that has always been saying that if you don't pay your tithe, you're going to go to hell. I mean, the average Nigerian can just like second guess that statement and literally open their Bible and figure it out for themselves. But the fact that no Nigerian ever, in fact, even when he even says it, people even defend him. On social media, people will defend him. People say, don't question the man of God. Like, I don't understand that mentality. I don't get it. I have never gotten it, and I don't think I'll ever understand it. To an extent, one can even equate it to Stockholm syndrome, whereby you're not only like siding with your oppressor and your enemy, you're actually defending them. Because that is exactly what Nigerians are doing when they refuse to call out the shenanigans of all these religious figures. For you to say that somebody is going to go to hell because they don't give you money, essentially, because they don't pay their tithes, something that the average Nigerian can look up for themselves and find out if it's true or false. For you to say that kind of thing, and without any remorse, without any guilt, without any contemplation, you just blatantly say it like that because you know that nothing is going to happen to you, because you know that the average Nigerian is not going to check it out, because you know that there is not going to be any consequence from any divine entity. These people are just so evil and so cowardly and so spineless that the average Nigerian is where their power is the extent of the entirety of their power. There is no, it does not pass. It cannot go further than that. They cannot stand up to the injustice of the government. They cannot stand up to the injustice of the heads of states. They cannot call them out on their bullshit. They cannot join people to protest when there is need for protests. You know, the Nigerian pastors are just that vile and evil and dumb and stupid and selfish. This is who they are. So now this nigga now is now coming out to say, just because now he has come out to say that, because of the power of social media, because of how activistic people like Very Dark Man is, and how much they know, and how much they know of the kind of power that they have with the use of their voice and tools like social media. This Adeboye is somebody I used to think was untouchable because of his high level of influence. But no, 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 no. Nigerians should not think that no matter how powerful somebody, no matter how powerful these affluent people are, they are untouchable. Nigerians should not think that these people as in, we can always hit them where it hurts. We can always use our voices to call them out on their bullshit. There just has to be enough of us to revolt. There just has to be enough of us to be able to swing the narrative to our own favor. They're just that the only thing there is that we already have the power. We Nigerians already have the power. The power already resides with us. We just have to recognize that we have the power, and then gather enough of us to amplify that power. So now people, because of how activistic this new emerging form of governance by very dark man is, it has gotten to the point where people who we think actually had the power are now kind of bowing down to him, to very dark man. People are now scared of him, because when he focuses on you and calls you out, imagine that this God's chosen pastor, somebody, that one is a cult. God's chosen is a cult. These chosen people, when people Nigerians don't understand what being in a cult is. They think that being in the cult is like the way Nigerian movies portray it, like you have to always like drink blood and sacrifice your loved ones and stuff like that. That's not what being in the cult is. Being in the cult is like being so brainwashed that you wholeheartedly believe what your leader tells you. Whatever your leader says, whatever your leader instructs you to do, you wholeheartedly believe it. Because we've had cases like, for example, now Charles Manson. There are so many cults that have existed all over the world. One of the most prominent ones is like Charles Manson. Also, the Jonestown, what do they call them? Jonestown. We've all heard of the Jonestown massacre now. That is another one that comes to mind. Then another prominent one in Nigeria also that comes to mind is like TB Joshua, the Synagogue Church of All Nations. That was a cult. It still continues to remain a cult, even though there is this new video that is trending of him, that when he talked about giving your offering to the poor. I mean, they always package their bullshit. These people are so conniving and so slithering that they package their bullshit in packets of what seems to be good. Do you understand? Like this Adeboye now. He as he has come out now to say, because he's being called out, because he's being exposed, because people are beginning to wake up, people are beginning to find things out for themselves. He's now trying to like change his mind and trying to change his tongue by saying that he's sorry for saying that people who don't pay their tithes will go to hell. You're a pastor. Are you not supposed to know that already? That is not what the Bible says. So now people are now saying that, oh, he's a good man of God. He's a good man of God for changing his mind. Okay, if he's a good man of God for like changing his mind and changing what he used to say before, why isn't he supposed to return all the money that he has collected for people for so many years? Collected from people rather for so many years. If you know that you have given him tithes before, you're entitled to ask him for your money. If he's really like these pastors, they're so fucking fake and so disingenuous. Like even that one self, what is that his fucking name again, self? The one they called Dr. Abel Damina, the one that was making himself look like a genuine pastor, even though he's still fraudulent. The one that was calling out all these pastors, saying that, oh, collecting tithes from people is not biblical, and forcing people to pay tithes is not Christian. Like he was calling them out, and it seemed like he was genuine, and it seemed like he was doing the Lord's work and stuff like that. But then when people now stopped giving money because people figured out that they don't have to gamble again, because of what based on what I said earlier, that religion is a gamble. Religion is just another facet of gambling in Nigeria, because people are not really people don't really love God for the sake of loving God. They only pretend to love God because of what they think they can get out of it. And so when they saw that, oh, there is nothing more to gain out of like paying tithes, giving their hard-earned money to God, or giving their hard-earned money to the church, when they now stopped giving and paying tithes and offering in his church, he now turned around and started to like, he now turned around and started to like put it in such a way to his to the member of his church members that it's wrong, even though he has said that paying tithes is wrong, that they are all that's. Like the way he said it was just so fraudulent and so conniving that you can just see through his bullshit and understand that this is just another fake pastor. I mean, there are no real pastors in Nigeria, obviously. So it's the same thing with this fucking Adeboye. Now he's now changing his mouth and saying that, oh, people are not supposed to that it's wrong of him to say that you go to hell if you don't pay your tithes. All these pastors are double-tongued like snakes, like snakes. They say one thing today, and the next day when they are being called out, they say something else. And nothing they say can be found in the Bible. Everything they say is solely for their own selfish interests. So this what is this his fucking name? The head of the Lord's Chosen, which is a cult, like I was saying before, he's now being called out by a very dark man and being exposed by him. The funny part is that he's not even VDM is not even the only one like calling this man out and exposing his fraudulence and exposing his hypocrisy. I mean, there are so many, like I think he's even shooting himself in the foot. Like he did it to himself. Like all the testimonies that his church members give are they're too stupid to believe. Like they're too outlandish to believe. That people have been making fun of them to the point where the man had to like make a statement and try to use very dark man as a scapegoat, which then backfired on him. These people are, as in the Lord's Chosen is a cult. And one of the ways that I know is a cult is by the uniform that they wear. Like no normal human being, even when there was one time that Peter Obi visited the church, and I don't know why he would want to like involve himself with that party. He didn't wear their lemon fucking dumbass attire. So, but one way that you know that it's a cult is by the uniform that they put on. Everybody in that church believes that if you put on that uniform, you're somehow gaining protection from the law, from the God. They don't even call him. They don't even. The thing there is that they don't even worship the Christian God. The God that they think that they worship the Christian God, but they don't. The actual God that they worship is the God of the chosen pastor. I don't know. I've forgotten how they put it, but whenever they happen to find themselves in problems or in situations that are uncomfortable, the utterances that they make and the fucking incantations that they make is so far from Christian. It's so far from what we understand the conventional Christian utterance and prayer to be. That is another way that you know that, oh, these people are in a cult. And they're so delusional that they think that, I don't even know if those testimonies are lies or if those people have been paid to come on stage to tell those tall tales. But if it's not a lie, then these people are that deluded to believe that their uniform and their belief in the God of their their pastor will save them from whatever situation they find themselves in. So Very Dark Man has become so prominent and so powerful that people now are bowing down. People now are beginning to listen and beginning to pay attention to the kind of influence that he has, the kind of power that he's exerting, the kind of I don't even know the words to use now. People are beginning to listen to him. People are beginning to like, as in he's beginning to gather. He's beginning to gather voices. He's beginning to gather bodies. He's beginning to gather intellectuals. He's beginning to wake people up. Do you understand? From the slumber that they've always been. He's beginning to school people and teach people that, oh, you have the power to affect the change that you want. You understand? You have the power to affect the change that you want. The people who seem to be in power, the people who seem to be in control, they don't actually have any control. They don't actually have any power. The power belongs to the people. And if you know how to utilize the power, bro, there's a lot that you can accomplish. And we're seeing that with the likes of Very Dark Man. Nigeria is one hell of a lost cause, whereby the lunatics now run the asylum. The pastors know that there are no consequence to the bullshit that they do to Nigerians, and also the Nigerians are not even there is no, as in there's no natural love for God. Nigerians tend to think that they are Christian. No, Nigerians tend to think that they are believers, that they love God, but the way they behave, the way Nigerians behave, is far from what it means to be Christian, what as in it means to live like Christ, to behave like Christ. Nigerians are so, as in there is nothing Christian about the average Christian Nigerian. They are only doing it for the potential gain, for the potential materialistic gain. That is why they do it. That is where you see Nigerians strive. When it's time to go to church, they think that is all it's, as in they think that going to church is all that it means to be Christian. But that's not what it is. I always end my sermons with, looking after, like, caring for the next man. But even though, yeah, there are semblances of it here and there in pockets and areas in Nigeria, but it's not something that can be generalized. I mean, look at the level of suffering that the average Nigerian is going through now. Yet no pastor can call it out. No pastor has spine strong enough to face, to call out the Nigerian government for the bullshit that they are making that they are making the average Nigerians go through. Are you saying that Adeboye, fucking Chris Oyakhilome, David Ibiyeomie, or David Oyedepo, are you saying that these four heads cannot come together with their church members and storm National Assembly and question the president? Like, as in, to go back to my talk about 1984 with Winston Smith and his intentions for the pros. Like, I always wished that when Nigerians, like, when Tinubu stole the mandate and installed himself as the president, I always wished that Nigerians would like storm the National Assembly and burn the place down and remove him and install the rightful president. I always wished that Nigerians were that enthusiastic about progress and change. You understand? But it never happened. It's something that I continue to wish will happen. And the more Nigerians are being pushed to the walls, the more Nigerians are being fucked in the ass, the more Nigerians are being mistreated and manhandled and, taken for granted, and still enduring. Like, I just keep looking and just hoping and keep wishing that, it will get to a point where I don't know what point it will get to. I don't know the kind of situation Nigerians will be in where they will no longer be able to take it anymore and then just react. There's a post I saw on Twitter where like a loaf of bread is now like 48,000 naira. I don't know what kind of like ingredients they used to make that bread. I don't know if there's diamond in the bread or something like that, but for a loaf of bread now to be 48,000 naira, I don't even understand how we got there. I don't even understand how that happened. 600 with six, if you have $600 now, you're a millionaire in Nigeria, an actual millionaire. I mean, being a millionaire used to mean something. Being a millionaire in Nigeria used to be something that people looked forward to. Do you understand? Our currency is now our currency is now babash. Our currency is so invaluable these days that like our currency is so invaluable these days that it is not even. I don't know if anybody can remember how our currency used to look like in the past, like in the 90s. Like, if anybody can remember how 20 naira used to look, 10 naira used to look like. 50 naira to me was like the most beautiful currency back then. 50 naira, with how blue it is and how detailed the design was, and just how nationalistic the design of the 50 naira used to be back then. And 200 naira and 500 naira, everything was just so normal back then. Everything was just so in line with being democratic. Nigeria was on track to be the actual giant of Africa. Our currency now is just so stupid and so invaluable that they just come up with different useless designs, and they no longer care which currency is in rotation. They no longer care about which one that people used to which ones that people use for the exchange of goods. Our naira now looks so fake and so poorly designed and so anti-meticulous. If you look at the Nigerian naira now, it looks ridiculous. It does not look. There is no intention behind it. It just looks like something that has been lazily and reluctantly designed to represent the amount of loot that is being carted away from Nigeria every single day. Fucking, what is his name? Tinubu is on a 2-week vacation wherever the fuck he is. And even before that, I think there was this news that Nigeria just borrowed more money from the World Bank, and also China lent Nigeria a certain amount of money. Are you telling me that what will that money now be used for? If not to flex for this is 2-week vacation. I mean, if you can link these things together, right? World Bank gave Nigeria money. Also, China borrowed Nigeria money, and immediately after that, Tinubu has gone for a 2-week vacation. Who is to say that the money that was given to Nigeria isn't being used by Tinubu to flex for this is 2-week vacation? Who is to say that? Who among us cannot come to that conclusion? Who among us do not think that is something that it's not, as in that is something not too far from reality? That is what is happening in Nigeria right now. That is the state of Nigeria right now. That is Nigeria at 64. The entire country is in shambles, and yes, I know that Nigerians are docile. Yes, I know that Nigerians are not, they're not. There is no immediate call to change. Nigerians are very adaptable, and so they are able to endure. In fact, there is this. We all know about suffering and smiling in Nigeria. So this is what the average Nigerian is. Yes, I understand that is what is happening, but then again, the day that Nigerians will wake up, the day that somehow something in Nigerians will click, and Nigerians will wake up and decide that they've had enough. I wonder, like, Nigerians are all over the world. That is another thing. That is another thing that these so-called leaders don't even understand. Nigerians are all over the world, so there's nowhere you can run to. There's literally nowhere you can run to that you will not collect. Jesus Christ. There's nowhere you can run to that you will not collect. Not only you, the rest of your family. The day Nigerians will decide, just like what's happened in Sri Lanka, where their president had to run away. I don't even know where that one is right now. The day that Nigerians will wake up and say enough is enough. Hopefully, the only thing I'm hoping is that day is closer than that day is close. That is all I'm hoping for. But when Nigerians, when Nigerians will wake up, and take back their country, there are two possibilities now. Two possibilities. It's either the country goes into civil war and then separates into three, like Biafra, Nigeria, and is it Oduduwa that the Yorubas call themselves? Or Nigerians understand that Nigerians put aside their petty squabbles like tribalism and religion and racism, Nigeria and classism. Actually, Nigeria puts aside all these squabbles and then face the actual problem, which is the government. These are the two possibilities. These are the two inevitable possibilities. There is nothing else that can happen. If none of these two happens, Nigeria will continue to dwindle into darkness and hell. That is just the outcome of the whole thing. They will continue to dwindle into darkness and hell, to the point where these two possibilities will inevitably happen. Do you understand? It's just a matter of time. And when it happens, there is no place that any Nigerian politician or any Nigerian leader can run to for safety. Nowhere. Except they can hide in White House. Except you are actually hiding inside the White House. Gone. That is when those people will not even accommodate you, because they have their own problems. America right now, if Kamala Harris becomes president, America will become what Nigeria currently is. That's all I have for that's all I have for today. That's all I have that I can say today. In fact, I'm tired. I want to go and eat and I want to smoke. I decided not to smoke today just to be as coherent as possible. Because I know that if I had smoked before starting this podcast, before making this episode, excuse me, I'll just talk nonsense. I'll say absolute trash. But I wanted to be sane. So yeah, that's about that, man. Today is actually a beautiful day. I'm out in the park as usual. Thank you for chilling with me. Thank you for giving me your listening ears. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and share it with people you think might be interested in hearing this. If you're on Spotify, rate the podcast and leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I'm mostly active, at General Prime 1. All descriptions will be all my info will be in the description. And yeah, that's actually that about that. And all right, I'll talk to you guys next time. Okay, bye everybody.